You're watching Outsiders. I'm James Morrow, here as always with Rowan Dean and Rita Panahi. And, you know, one of the great evils of so-called progressive politics, whether it is the Labour Party in Australia or the Democrats in America, is that they treat everyone, particularly members of minority groups, not as individuals, but as members of a tribe, and say that you have to vote for us because we will protect your group interests, rather than trying to compete for every individual's vote as an individual. And it looks like that may finally be starting to crumble, though, in the United States, where black voters, like voters of all sorts of other descriptors, appear to be abandoning Joe Biden as the complete shambling train wreck of a presidency that he is. Don't take my word for it. Here's CNN.
Look at this number for Donald Trump, 22%. Where was Donald Trump at this point 4 years ago in the polls? He was just at 9% of the vote. So he's seen more than a doubling in his support among African Americans. This margin, which was in the 70s just 4 years ago, look at where it is now, 69 minus 22. That puts it in the 40s. My goodness gracious, if this held through the general election, obviously we're still months away, this would be by far the best performance for a Republican candidate among black voters in a generation, 2 generations, probably since 1960.
Well, this has got Biden's handlers in an absolute panic now, as you'd imagine, and they've rushed the president out on, what else? A great big pandering tour to try and stem the bleeding. This has included stops at the National Museum of African American History and Culture, a speech to an NAACP dinner in Detroit, and graduation addresses at Morehouse College, which is known colloquially as a historically black college or university, a.k.a. an HBCU. How did the president go there, by the way, getting through that little acronym?
This investment has helped HBCUs do everything from build student housing, to study climate science, to create health research labs, prepare black students for labs and industries of the future.
Yes, the good old HBGs uses, or whatever he was trying to say there. That was Biden, by the way, speaking to the NAACP, which, guess what? He's always been supportive of.
My name's Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP.
Well, yeah, sure, okay. And, you know, obviously the whole speech was filled with a few minutes of typical word salad.
That's why my administration is taking the most significant action, notwithstanding the Supreme Court tried to stop me, to provide student debt relief, most supreme ever.
Most supreme ever, followed by, of course, the obligatory, where am I going to get off the stage? Now, well done, by the way. Whoever was in charge of putting the tape markings on the floor, you did an absolutely stunning job there. It was very easy for him to follow. Now, there's a lot of reasons, though, why Joe Biden's support among black voters is cratering. Number one, of course, being the economy. But former Oklahoma Speaker of the House TWW Shannon recently took it further, having this to say.
I think the Democrats recognize they are losing their grip on the black vote. Listen, there are 2 reasons why black voters are running toward Donald Trump. Number one, they remember COVID. They remember it was the Democrats who were saying you can't go to work, you can't go to your job, and you can't send your kids to schools. And Republicans were saying, we want to protect your job and we want your kids to go to school. And they also know that Joe Biden has replaced African Americans for illegals. The open border crisis is not by hop and circumstance. It is a direct attack on black voters, and black people recognize it. They're asking the question, why is it that Jamal is locked up, but Julio's running around doing whatever he wants to in this country with benefits from the government?
So there we have it. We've got the economy, we've got COVID and illegal immigration's disproportionate impacts, to coin a phrase, on African-American communities. But then, of course, there's another issue with this, and that is Joe Biden himself. He may have claimed to have been brought up in the past in the black church when he wasn't, of course, attending the Jewish shul, the Shiite mosque, and the Baha'i temple. But let's just remember that Joe Biden's history when it comes to black Americans is, well, shall we say, a little checkered, and has involved calling young black men predators and pushing a 1994 crime bill that led to the mass incarceration of black Americans.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and nice-looking guy.
Biden recalling his early Senate career, bringing up two segregationist senators, Herman Talmadge and James Eastland, who called African Americans an inferior race. I was in a caucus with James O. Eastland, Biden said. He never called me boy. He always called me son. At least there was some civility. We got things done.
The senators that he is speaking of with such adoration are individuals who made and built their reputation on segregation. The Ku Klux Klan celebrated the election of one of them.
Using the word boy in the way he did can cause hurt and pain, and we need a presidential nominee and the leader of our party to be sensitive to that.
My Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this. I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black. Other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind.
And amazingly, there are 6 more minutes of that compilation of Joe Biden saying things that are frankly pretty racist, which should give you an idea of where all this is going. But never mind. Let's be fair. Let's give the president, Joe Biden, the last word here as we recall his famous pitch to African-American voters in 2020.
I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Well, indeed.